Hi again, Greg Bell, beat writer for the News Tribune with colleague Dave Boling after the second day of Seahawks training camp here in Renton on Sunday. Dave, what have you noticed through two training camp practices?
You know what, after 28 years of doing this and seeing some really awful teams who had very poor practice habits, I still marvel at the way the Pete Carroll Seahawks regime works. And I think a big key to their success is the way they practice, the efficiency, the speed, the tempo. It very much has a sense of a college tempo. And there are so few times you see blown assignments. You see penalties that you see people have to go back to the huddle because somebody was in a wrong alignment. So I think, you know, championships are made in July and August and on Wednesday practices and Thursday practices, and it's not just on Sundays. And this team continues to be one that practices like a team that has all its core of veterans intact and playing in the prime of their careers. It's very impressive the way they operate.
They seem deeper to me. They're younger. They're still at their young core together. But the biggest question remains the offensive line. To that end, Gary Gilliam came back today, played left tackle. He had his cyst removed in the spring. Dave, do you think he's viable? He's a college tight end. Do you think he can play left tackle in the NFL?
I do, because he has really good feet, and the fact that he was a tight end shows that he has some mobility, that he has some speed. Good footwork and balance is really a key to left tackle. Now, if he is strong enough and stout enough and tough enough to play against the toughest defensive ends in the National Football League, we're going to have to see. We can't tell, as you know, how well any of these guys are playing when they're out in their skivvies and not going full contact. So we don't know any of the guys. There's nobody on the offensive line who is the tentative starters at this point who have played an NFL game at their position.
Right.
So it's going to be a hugely important preseason for the offensive line, and we really can't judge much until they get going. But on the other side, looking at the defensive line, Frank Clark has been standing out to me as a guy who could be the next big breakthrough star, and part of that is because teams can't double team Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill and Frank Clark. I think their pass rush, their defensive line is really going to be a huge threat this season.
At times today in nickel defense, the Seahawks had as their speed off defensive line Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett, Frank Clark kind of roaming up and down the line, and then Ryan Robinson, a defensive end who missed last season with an injury, was the fourth of that speed.
And then they put Cassius Marsh in there a couple of times too in the pass rush sub packages, and he's another guy with a high motor who is very long as well, who's going to be a real matchup problem if he gets in.
Everything I saw in nickel, Deshaun Shedd seems to be the preferred outside cornerback when they go five defensive backs. Jeremy Lane back inside where he had played for the first few years as a Seahawk before he had to play outside at cornerback because of injuries and Kerry Williams' failure last year. I think, from judging just on mini camps in the first 2 days of practice, that they would prefer, on the biggest passing downs of games, to have Deshaun Shedd play outside at corner with his physicality bumping at the line, and the more finesse speed Jeremy Lane inside on the slot as the
And they're still figuring a lot of these things out. Today, for instance, at the Sam linebacker, Eric Pinkins got some work with the starting unit, and so that's another position that's going to be in question. Jay Lane started with the first group at the right cornerback spot, so they're really sorting through a lot. And
right.
Just as you said, the depth that they have, they've got some pretty good options and things they're going to be able to do. And so there's some good, although there is really this is a veteran group. There's still some really going to be interesting battles on the field.
Shedd was the first team outside, or cornerback right side opposite Richard Sherman on Saturday. So as Dave said, they're mixing and matching. A couple house cleaning things. I mentioned Gilliam was back to practice today, full go at left tackle. That's about a week earlier than Pete Carroll said he might be. CJ Procise was not. He had a sleeve on his right leg. He had tweaked his hamstring in the first 15 minutes of camp yesterday in special teams. The rookie running back from Notre Dame, third-round pick, supposed to be the third down back. He's going to be sidelined, it looks like, for a couple days at least. We didn't get to talk to Pete Carroll today to find out what's more on that. Dave Boling and I will be here every day, 22 practices till the season opener September 11th against Miami. Thanks again for joining us. Enjoy your day.